Hello, welcome back to the OnlyBets Sports Podcast with your host, me, SternBets, and Drew DeLucci, who absolutely had an incredible play yesterday. Michigan destroyed; they didn't even come close. How you doing, man? Welcome in.
Doing good. I thought it was kind of crazy too. With 12 minutes to go, Michigan decided to sit their starters, and they still won by 40. It was just overall, it was very good. And I know I told the viewers yesterday, look at Memphis to possibly win as underdogs. They definitely won that game. They were up by 16, and then they let them come back, and then they had a player drop 40, ended up winning by I believe about double digits. So. I'm very surprised about how high scoring it was because the first 8 minutes it looks like it was going to be well on pace. So yeah.
Yeah, it was definitely a good day for the brand. I went 1-0. PrinceOfPicks went 1-1. The Raptors just destroyed. He also had a 2-unit live play on the Raptors team total that cashed as well, although that wasn't on our podcast, so I can't claim victory there. And the Suns just kind of collapsed there at the end. That's going to be an interesting story a little bit later. But yeah, the Penguins and Sabres that just went over 6.5. So I hope you guys tailed. We had our special Super Bowl preview show yesterday in the morning, and then we had an NBA trade deadline reaction video about half an hour after the trade deadline ended yesterday. But we have some really, really good games today. My pick today is actually in college basketball, which I have yet to make an official full unit play in college basketball. So I'm very interested to hear from you that in that game. But first, let's get started. NHL. This is gonna, they're on a break for the next few weeks. They're gonna be playing Olympic hockey. Do you have any thoughts there? Team USA or Team Canada or any other nations that may have a chance to lift the gold here?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of I would say like because of course I mainly just watch my Sharks for NHL, but I'm a big fan when it comes to like overall team hockey. I honestly like the USA hockey team this year for the Winter Olympics. Of course, some shout out to Celebrini for making the Canada team. I'll say that as a teenager, that's very impressive to do, and you don't usually see it that often happen, right? So. But something I like about overall this hockey team, I'm really like the idea of like Jack Eichel on there, the Hughes brothers are on there, Austin Matthews. They have J.T. Miller. They're able to get Jake Ottinger. But the Canada team, of course, is absolutely stacked. In my personal opinion, especially if you factor in all the people that are on there as well, I would say I haven't looked at it yet, but I wouldn't blame anyone because they take pride in this. I'm not saying USA does, but I would like the idea of Canada winning the gold medal in this.
Yeah, and at the more plus money, that's definitely a sharp look there. I saw somebody parlaying that with the New England Patriots to win the Super Bowl, and I think that was a really nice play cash out there. But anyway, let's move forward to the NBA. I personally am a little bit worried going into any games. I do have a few leans. The Knicks Detroit Pistons game, I lean over. There was a what was the stat over there? It was the last, it was like 11 out of their last 15 games where they played 2 days in a row has cashed over. Oh, no, sorry. 75% of the time when they play back-to-back nights, the over cashes. It's just a crazy statistical anomaly. And the Knicks are no slouches themselves. They're finding their rhythm. They have some juice that was just injected into their role players. So I am excited to see that game. No official bets. I'm going to lay off the NBA until we see kind of how these players integrate into their own teams. There's just so much high variance right now. I'm going to trust, Prince of Picks or you and other experts other than myself right now until I feel comfortable. Any thoughts on the NBA tonight?
Yeah, I remember yesterday, it kind of coincides with the Pistons today. I said if I had to make one pick yesterday, remember it was the Wizards plus 15 and a half. I didn't expect them to win outright. That was really bad, pathetic defensive performance we're not used to by the Pistons, personally. But if I had to make a pick for the NBA today, it would personally be the Knicks to beat the Pistons. I think the Pistons defense, if you look at it, it's been kind of reeling as of late. It's like their offense has been better than their defense. We're not used to seeing that from a Pistons team because, like, I remember like They allowed the Warriors just to beat the Warriors, allowed the Warriors to score 124 points. The Nets, I don't count. They held them to 77. The Nets are the Nets. But then they let the Nuggets score 121 points against them, and they let the Warriors score 126. So I like the over or the Knicks to win in that game because the Pistons defense hasn't been what it used to be
Yeah,
lately.
and something to keep in mind here, the under was at 236.5 and has dropped to 221.5, creating a lot of value there. The only reason why I'm kind of skeptical on this is that sharp money is on the under, even though everything screams to me that this should go over. And yeah, you're 100% right on that Pistons defense. They're going to need to pick that up if they're going to have a shot in the postseason this year. Um, the
And I'm
other
pretty
big game,
sure
yeah.
the Knicks aren't coming off a back to back, right? No, they aren't. Yeah. But the Pistons are.
Yeah, no, the Knicks are fully rested. I just meant that the Pistons on back-to-back nights have cashed the over 75% of the time. That's my bad. The other big game that I was kind of looking at, not really that big, but the Pelicans versus the Timberwolves. I do lean under here. The model has a solid probability here that I'm not really sure why we always think that the Pelicans are going to be linked to high scoring affairs. The Timberwolves have a great defense and they just injected themselves with some more pieces there. So I kind of like them to control the tempo at home, funnel the offensive action to the paint, and then just, slowly, methodically score. You have any thoughts on this one?
No, I definitely agree with you. I didn't necessarily thoughts on that one. I didn't do much research, but I agree with you. I feel like they put the overs too high for Pelicans games. I think they're just trying to think, oh, it's the Pelicans, like the past. No, it's really not. Like the Pelicans are not one of those teams anymore that you'll see light up the scoreboard. Yes, they did against the Bucks, but the Bucks aren't that great. If you look at the previous games, right, they scored under I believe they scored under 100 in 3 out of the last 5 games, which is not good for any NBA team. So I mean, like in the even the Bucks game, it went to OT. So and they're facing the Timberwolves, who the Timberwolves are always a stingy defense. So yeah.
Yeah, and that's definitely a lean for me. And any lean for me on the show, if I say it's a lean, I'm playing it at a quarter unit just for the viewers, listeners, I guess. We're not viewing yet, but we will get there. The Indiana Pacers Milwaukee Bucks was also a very interesting game. I don't know what to do here. Giannis is still not playing. I guess I lean Pacers, right? But I don't know. There's nothing here that tells me one way or the other. And there's a few other games here. The Heat, the Celtics. I do lean Celtics as well. I think 6.5 points is fine against a Heat team that is going to struggle against. I think a team that is probably second favorite to win the championship here. Any thoughts there?
No, I agree with you. I would say the only other game I looked at was that one. And I would say I would lean the Celtics to definitely cover that. They've been hot. They've impressed me on the road, and now I believe they're back home, right? So I like that.
Yeah, and sometimes that is tricky when you're playing after a long road stretch and then you come home. Sometimes you just don't focus correctly. So that's kind of why I leaned off this or didn't take this line. But I did look at it really, really strongly. But let's move into college basketball, unless there's anything else in professional basketball that you wanted to get to. Do you have any looks for tonight? We have some really great games going on, and one of these games I have a really solid pick. So why don't you bring us in? Give give
Yeah.
give us the games you're looking at.
Yeah, so I would say the one game. Let me see this. Let's go, Sam Stevens. Sorry, I'm watching the Phoenix Open, and I did a live bet on Sam Stevens. But anyways, I would say I have a couple bets. The first bet I have is kind of a double up. Loyal Chicago is facing Davidson. Loyal Chicago is probably the worst team in my opinion in the conference. They're one of those teams that only really do well on the at home. Um, Only do well at home personally. There are a terrible team on the road. I think they've won 2 games in conference. They beat LaSalle, but if you look at their, other games that they have in the past, like they've lost by 20 multiple times on the road. Like when they went to VCU, they lost by 14. VCU is a good team. They went to St. Bonaventure, they lost by 14. They lost at home to Duquesne by 12. Lost at home to George Mason by 8. They lost to at Dayton by like 27. And Davidson honestly played St. Louis tougher than most teams do play St. Louis, personally. And I really like Davidson halftime, full time for minus 210. I'm part of this double up. I don't know if you have a take on that before I go to my next part of the double up to make it closer to even money.
No, not really, but I think that's a good look.
Yeah, because like I don't really want to do the spread. I'd rather just do the halftime, full time because I think in order for them to cover the spread, they probably have to lead at halftime. So that's how I see it. So might as well just take that.
Yeah,
And
listen, all of these halftime full times, you've only missed on one game.
yeah,
Every other game has sailed on.
and guess why I missed on it? Davidson. Yep.
Oh,
Think about it. Yep. So hey man, I'll back up the team that screwed me last time. So exactly. Because but luckily with St. Louis ended up winning. They realized they woke up when they were down by 13. But I wish Davidson forgot how to shoot in the first half like they usually do. But the second one is we have another A10 game. It's going to be I believe it's who is it? It's Dayton, I think at VCU, I believe. Yeah, Dayton at VCU. And I am going to add VCU money line for minus 325. This will equal around minus 108, 110. I placed it now. Honestly, Davidson's gaining some. I mean, Loyal Chicago is gaining some steam when I don't think they shouldn't, but I'll take it at minus 108 right now. But when it comes to Dayton, Dayton, they started off the conference play like really well, but then there was a period where they just collapsed. Like when if you go back to January like 21st, right? They were big favorites at LaSalle by like 10 points. They lost by 3. They were big favorites by St. Joseph's, and then they lost by 7. They were about 5.5 point favorites when they faced Rhode Island, and they lost at home. They were only 9.5 point underdogs at St. Louis, and then they lost by 31. And then they barely beat St. Bonaventure when they were big favorites again by 2 points at home. And VCU, as we all know, VCU is like a class of the A10 as they've always been. They were originally, the favorites coming in, but then St. Louis has had this amazing run, and I think they continue it. But I just am a big fan of this VCU team. They have an amazing home court advantage. They beat Dayton in a lot of statistical categories. If you look at it overall, they have the better defense. I think they overall have a better offense to neutralize them. So I'll gladly add VCU money line with the reeling Dayton team.
I love that. That was actually my secondary play, nothing official. But I did place a half unit on VCU minus 7.5. I
Yes.
think that was the line. I mean, they're 11-2 at home. Dayton is 2-6 on the road against the spread in the last 8 away games. This is just not, this is just not the spot for Dayton to come alive. I do agree that
No.
VCU should get the win, and I think that they get the win by double digits.
Oh, I think they win by probably 15.
Yeah,
Personally, in my point, it's just yes, I get it. Everybody loses to St. Louis by a lot, but if you're considered a team that you only 9.5 point underdogs and you lose by 31, that's not good. Because I saw VCU almost actually beat St. Louis at their home, and it's VCU and Virginia has very good home court advantage, and I don't think Dayton will be ready. The only way I can see Dayton winning this game is if they consistently hit their threes. But VCU is always known for their defense. They're 8-2. I think the only two losses are to what was it, St. Louis and George Mason, who are really good teams in the A10. So,
yeah, and shout out to Cianajad. That's his team, I think, George Mason. Anyway, let's move on to the big game of the night.
yep.
UConn
I,
versus St. John's. This is, I think it's being played in New York in Madison Square Garden. Is that
yeah,
correct?
Madison Square Garden. Yep. I actually have a pick in that game too.
All right, let's get to it because this is where my pick as well is. It's just too much public money going in one direction, too much sharp money going in the other, and I think there's a massive rebounding advantage on one of these sides. So why don't you tell us what's going on here?
Yeah, so we have Madison Square Garden with the Johnnies and of course the Huskies. People make a joke, UConn fans, because I know some UConn fans, they say, oh, it's, like UConn South, right? Because they say there's gonna be a lot of UConn fans that fill Madison Square Garden, but I think it'll be more 50-50. I think the Johnny fans are gonna show up personally. I really like how the Johnnies have played and rebounded since they did their non-conference. And UConn, of course, I feel like they've been cruising a little bit. If you look at it, they haven't really covered that much when it comes to conference play, I have noticed. If you look at it, like the most recent one, the last two games they have covered and they just turn on the gas, like against Creighton and UConn. But before that, they didn't cover against Providence the first two times. They didn't cover against Villanova. They didn't cover against Georgetown. They didn't cover against Seton Hall. They didn't cover against DePaul or Marquette. But if you look at St. John's has been cover machines, and they face basically the same teams UConn has. They've been demolishing those teams, and their only loss in Big East play was like towards the beginning. And ever since they lost to Providence, they've been beating almost every. If you look at it, they've been beating quite a bit of teams in the Big East by double digits and such, and away, which is hard to do. Like they just covered against DePaul. They covered against Baylor. They didn't cover against Xavier, but overall, though, I honestly like the Johnnies here. I like Rick Pitino. I like how he has the Johnnies playing personally. And if you look at metrics, these two teams are pretty even, but you need to look at it again. This is how I look at it too, is that St. John's has to go to UConn. So if St. John's loses this, they basically are conceding the Big East title because they have one loss in the Big East and UConn doesn't. St. John's is the more desperate team in my personal opinion. And then lastly, when I was like looking at the metrics for this game, let me pull it up real quick. 1 second. Hold on. I'll say this while I'm looking at the metrics. There's something I like about St. John's is they have the athletes to compete with UConn. Anytime you watch St. John's play, they have nothing but insane athletes everywhere. They know that like Darling, they have Ejiofor. They have a bunch of just straight dogs. They play great defense, and this is also a clash of paces because St. John's plays really fast. UConn plays slow. And if they can force UConn to play fast paced, that's where UConn struggles. We see it when they face Providence. Because when UConn plays slow against Providence, then Providence picks it up. We see UConn struggle a little bit against these faster pacer teams, but they beat slower pacer teams by a lot, like Creighton and Villanova, because if you match their pace, they generally are going to blow you out. So that's why you need to speed them up. Because if you look at the rebounding in this case is Connecticut has a 35.6% offensive rebound percentage, and they allow 28.9 offensive rebounds. And then personally, at if you look at St. John's, they get 38.1% offensive rebounds, and then they allow 32.3. So technically, St. John's it gets 3% more offensive rebounds. They get to the line a lot, just like UConn. So I don't know. I like St. John's here to cover 1.5 or 2.5. Or I actually think they win.
Ruh-roh, Raggy. I am on the other side of this. And the last time I went against you, I lost badly. I had Michigan State, you had Michigan, and I don't even think it was close. It was at least 15-point difference. Yeah, I took the UConn Huskies here for their defensive rebounding rate. I think that they will be able to negate St. John's ability to generate second chances. And you are right about whoever leads the pace of this game is probably going to win it. And I really, when I look at these two teams, I felt like UConn had the stronger narrative to be able to control the pace of the game, just based on their defensive efficiency, which is third best in the league, right? St. John's ranks 26th in the same metric. And then it was really the defensive rebounding rate, where statistically UConn is elite. And while St. John's is no slouch either. They're not at. I didn't feel like they were quite at that UConn level. So I did take the money line at -135, which is extremely juicy. I did not, to your point, want to take the spread in a very close game. but I do kind of think that the UConn's going to be able to pull it out here. But now I'm rethinking this, man, and you're making me nervous.
So something I look at on Ken Palm also is I like to look at, since I think we're 11 to 12 Big East games in, I look at the conference metrics, right? And St. John's defensive rebounding has improved a lot in conference. They're actually slightly better than UConn at defensive rebounding, and UConn slightly better offensive rebounding, because if you look at it as well too, if the teams that what was it? They have similar strength of schedules at the end of the day. But I've noticed like some of the teams in non-conference that possibly moved that for St. John's, that they had to play. Um, what was it, like they had to play Kentucky, who's a bigger team. And then they also other teams, there was like Alabama, they had to play Iowa State, who's good at that. You know, they played a lot of like teams in non-conference. As soon as they went to conference, they've gotten much better on the rebounding side. And something I do like a lot about St. John's, right? They actually have right now in the Big East technically the number one offense in efficient and adjusted efficiency. They don't have the best effective field goal percentage, but since they play so fast, I think it's a 118.6, and their defense is really good as well. They force a lot of turnovers, and they actually are the number one team. Too, something that I noticed, right? UConn is the worst team, or one of the worst teams in the Big East, a 17.7 percentage of turning over the ball. And and St. John's forces turnovers, and St. John's is number one at protecting the ball. So that was my key factor when factoring in metrics too, because that's going to matter a lot, because UConn doesn't get much non-steal percentage, right? They don't really force bad passes. They try to steal the ball from you. And against St. John's team that's turn the ball over well. But the key is UConn can win this game if St. John's don't get second chance points, and St. John's does not let UConn control the pace.
Yeah, and that's exactly where I was left, and that's kind of why I was on the Yukon side. This is going to be an interesting one going off at I think 8 p.m. tonight, which well, I guess this is our first showdown, man.
Hey man, I think it's going to be an overall great game.
Yeah.
I think UConn personally is being disrespected on ranking wise. I think to me they should probably be the second team in the nation. Personally, actually no, probably third. I don't think they're ranked third though, according to Ken Palm. But personally though, I think St. John's is being disrespected ranking wise, in my personal opinion. The fact that I think they're ranked only 22nd, and like if you, yes, I get it, St. John's has 5 losses. But if you look at some of the losses in non-conference, and when they're still trying to figure stuff out because they had a newer roster, Alabama, Iowa State, Auburn, Kentucky, Providence that one time. I mean, those aren't bad losses overall. And then ever since then, they figured it out with the new roster, and that's something that I like to factor in, because they lost a decent amount, but they also got a lot of talent. And Rick Pitino was getting pissed in the beginning, like, "Hey, our defense needs to tighten up. We're not having chemistry. We only have a couple pieces from last year." So yeah.
All right. Yeah, I'm definitely going to be watching that one later. This is going to be a great, great game. I'm going to be in Atlantic City tonight. So that's going to be also a really fun environment to watch this game and the Super Bowl. And if any of our listeners or you are over in New Jersey, come to Atlantic City. I'll hang out with you. I'll get you invited to the VIP party from Caesars, which I'm going to on Sunday. It's an indoor wave pool, I believe, that has like 40-foot screens all around. It's going to be really an epic environment to watch the game. But before we get to a little bit of football talk, I did want to mention you mentioned the WM Phoenix Open, and I wasn't going to mention this, but I did play this for a full unit, so I'll add it to my best plays. Scotty Scheffler is currently 2 over right now. I would be absolutely shocked if he didn't make the cut, and I would be absolutely shocked if he didn't finish top 20. So if he starts getting on a roll, makes the cut, I very much expect him to make the top 20, which is, I mean, I think pre-odds of him making the top 20 was probably in the minus 400s. Probably like you could usually get him in the top 10 market for around minus 120, minus 130. So when I see that you can get Scotty Scheffler at minus 128 for to be in the top 20, including ties on DK, I have to pull the trigger, and you can't. The cut line right now is par, and he is 2 over par. So if he just has a -2 or -3 type of day, he should be able to get this. And once he's rolling, we all know who Scotty Scheffler is. He'll continue rolling. Any thoughts there on that play?
Yeah, I love the Phoenix Open. Of course, being in Phoenix, I'm in Glendale technically, and it's about 30 minutes away. I watched Scotty Scheffler in the beginning, and it's really bad. He was 2 over in the morning because here in Arizona, usually the morning there's like no wind and stuff, and the afternoon is we see the struggle. So now it's flipped, and it concerns me because Scotty's going to be more so in the wind because this Phoenix weather has been kind of weird lately. But when I saw on Vegas after Scotty Scheffler was 2 over and Goddard was 8 under. And then they still showed Scotty Scheffler have like the sixth best odds to win the tournament at plus 2,000. The fact that he wasn't plus 6,000 or any of that shows me something is suspicious is going on. He's going to somehow, not, I'm not saying win it, but he's going to somehow get in the top 20. Like, I feel like even in the afternoon with the win, he's going to work something out because honestly, I knew he didn't have yesterday. There's something going on in his head when he literally had right. He missed the green in a par 3, and then he literally had a chip shot that he could have done to get back on the green. He chipped it from the rough, and then it went back. It went backwards. I've never seen that happen to
Yeah,
Scotty.
I
So
saw that play. That was ridiculous.
that's not Scotty. And then I was like, I told my buddy he's gonna go in for Jeter's chamber at night. He's gonna he's gonna get like 6 under today. Like for some reason, 6, 7 under, and he's gonna get himself back in it. So I like that play.
Yeah, he had 5 bogeys yesterday, I think, and a double bogey, which is just not Scotty Scheffler. And he still finished only 2 over. He is
Oh
just
yeah, he showed flashes, which was crazy, and I was not expecting that because he started off decently. He was getting buried, and then something just switched in his mind. I don't know if it was the group he was in because he was in the group with Goddard, and Goddard could get in his head because Goddard was hitting like crazy. Of course, he finished -8. Right? I actually did do a bet when Goddard was plus 500 and Fitzpatrick had the lead. I figured Fitzpatrick was going to choke, and I got her up to win round one. I put like 0.25 units at plus 500, so that was a good hit.
nice, man. Yeah, Fitzpatrick confuses me. He looks like he should just be improving every single year. The way he prepares, the way he takes meticulous notes, and yet he shows flashes, but he doesn't really ever finish it off. So that's frustrating. But anyway,
Those
let's
bogeys at the end were bad.
Yeah. Yeah, you could say that about a lot of people though yesterday. The
Yeah.
other person that I was surprised about was Cam Young. He only had a -1 yesterday, and I very fully expected him to have an incredible day coming after last week where he looked like he was starting to get in a groove. But let's move on to the NFL. Just real quick, I just had one note here. Please go listen to our podcast yesterday. Go look at my article where I lay out all my best bets. I have a team total parlay. I have 3 player props, and last night in my premium article, I released 2 fun little plus 300 plays. One on the Seattle side, one on the New England side, using boosts to really get those numbers juiced. Just like a quarter unit sprinkle, just to have a little bit of fun during the game. Everybody is, right? But I did want to mention that if you're going on the New England side, I would wait right before kickoff. I think that a lot of money is going to come on Seattle. I really think that people are waiting to see if the line moves and changes, and the lines aren't moving. They're not budging. They haven't moved at all in the last week and a half, 2 weeks. And I think that a lot of people are going to be putting money on Seattle, either on a money line parlay for whatever, or just honestly backing the spread at -4.5. I really think that people will. And if the line drops to 3.5, you better believe that people are going to be flooding the market on Seattle. So I think that the value of betting New England will only go up the closer we get to kickoff. So that is something that I'm looking at. I'm not touching the spread one way or the other. I will say that in my parlay, I parlayed 2 of the 5 pieces for the New England side was the under 50.5 points, parlayed with the Patriots plus 8.5 on the spread. And then I had a player receptions prop on that as well. And honestly, if you just wanted to play that plus 8.5 and under 50.5, you can get that at plus money right now. So that's not a bad look if you're looking for some action there. But again, I do think that if you're going to be playing New England, the value will only rise closer to the game. Any last thoughts? Any thoughts on either the Super Bowl, Phoenix Open, basketball, football, NHL, Olympics? We have so many things to go through, but anything else for us, man?
So yeah, nothing else on the NFL. And then of course we do have quite a bit of games tomorrow. I haven't really for college basketball. I haven't looked at the slate, but it looks like there's only a select few games that I'd actually be interested tomorrow because there's a lot of games tomorrow where it looks like upper tier versus bottom tier teams. But that's where it can be good value, guys. By the way, just for all the viewers, if you ever see an upper tier team on the road, there might be some good value on the spread because Vegas will reduce the spread because they're away. So you can do some money line lays. Like we have Nebraska at Rutgers. I know Rutgers have played hard, but we have other teams like we have Louisville at Wake Forest and stuff like that. So always look for favorites that are heading into away because they're going to reduce. If you think about it, usually give 2 to 3 points when they go home. When the favorites face home, and you give 2 to 3 points back. So that can be literally a 4 to 6 point swing because you reduce it and you add. So that's something to add for that. And the Phoenix Open, overall, I love watching the Phoenix Open. Let's honestly enjoy it and watch it. We right now currently, Goddard hasn't gone yet, but we have Matsuyama who had just went -4 through 7 of round two, and he's already up to -7 overall. And
Minus
Sam
five.
Stevens
He
is
just hit
-7.
another.
So
He just hit another birdie. He's -5 on the
oh,
day.
he just hit another birdie. Yeah, look for Matsuyama. Like he's going crazy right now.
Once
Like I saw that and I
Matsuyama
was
gets
like, that's
rolling,
insane.
he has some of the most incredible single round scores you will ever see. And if he is on a roll, he is on a roll. This is going to be exciting. I wonder how many
Oh yeah.
birdies in a row he can get.
Yeah, that's great. Oh yeah, right now if you want to, because I know Goddard hasn't gone yet, but Matsuyama's plus 490 right now to be the end of round two leader. So
It's not bad. Medium,
it's not
not
bad.
medium value there.
Yeah.
Because you're buying him at a high point right now. You don't know if he's going to continue. I will say, even if he can post really, really low scores, yeah, I mean it's worth a sprinkle. I put 5-10 bucks on it. Yeah, it's a good look. Someone else
Yeah.
who I think might even have a shot there is McNeely if he gets rolling, or Nikolai Hogard. Those are two names that I have
Yeah.
circled for the tournament itself. Anyway, yeah, that's it for me. Do we want to recap our best bets?
Yeah, for sure.
Go for it. What do you got for us?
So what I have is Davidson halftime full time with VCU, and then St. John's. I would just say straight up for mine, and I know we contradict in that. So those would be my two right there, and I have nothing else besides that, and NBA or NHL.
Yeah, we call that a showdown. And I'm going to take UConn on the money line -135. Um, and then I'm also going to be taking Scotty Scheffler at the top 20 market, including ties. Sorry about that. Someone's calling my phone. And yeah, for all of us here at Only Bet Sports Podcast, me, Drew DeLucci, thank you so much for tuning in. Go like our podcast, rate us, like us, listen to us. Have a great weekend. Can't wait to talk to you guys after Sunday, after Super Bowl Sunday. It's going to be an epic, epic Monday show. Thank you and have a great day.